Intro. Cinema is about what we're meant to see. Every frame, every gesture, every shadow, carefully curated to guide our eyes. But what if the most disturbing parts weren't in the foreground? What if the real story was hiding in the background, unnoticed, unexplained, and never accounted for? For decades, filmmakers have relied on the power of subtext and mise-en-scène to enhance meaning. Yet in some films, the background tells a different story. A story that no one involved can or will explain, a silhouette that wasn't on the call sheet, a figure standing motionless in the shadows, an object that appears in one frame, then vanishes. Most audiences never notice, but for those who pause, rewind, and look closely, the effect is chilling. Some of these anomalies were passed off as crew mistakes. Others were acknowledged, only to be dismissed as technical artifacts or coincidences. But a few remain open questions, details so precisely placed, so subtly unnerving, that they raise a bigger issue. Were they intentional? If so, by whom? What happens when a piece of fiction accidentally captures something real? Or worse, when it deliberately tries to, and hopes no one will notice? In this episode of Darkroom Cinema, we're diving into 15 films that didn't just tell unsettling stories, they hid something unsettling in plain sight. Whether it's a face in the window no one remembers filming, or a child-sized shape moving where no actor was scheduled, these aren't just continuity errors. These are ruptures, tears in the illusion of safety that cinema tries so hard to maintain. So the next time you watch a movie and feel something watching you from behind the frame, maybe rewind and look again. Because sometimes the real horror isn't in the plot, it's just standing silently in the background. The Sixth Sense, 1999, The Guest Who Wasn't Invited. M. Night Shyamalan's twist-laden masterpiece is celebrated for its ending, but its most unsettling moment may actually occur long before the reveal, hidden in the periphery of an otherwise mundane scene. During a family dinner, young Cole sits at the table, silent and tense. As his mother clears plates in the background, a woman walks past the doorway. She's wearing an old-fashioned dress, her head is down, and she passes by quickly, too quickly. There's no reaction from any character, no musical sting, no follow-up. Viewers who spot her often assume it's a mistake, or a ghost meant to foreshadow the film's big twist. But the timeline doesn't line up. This woman doesn't match any of the ghosts revealed later. Her clothing style suggests a much earlier era, and her face is never shown. Shyamalan has never commented on the moment. It's not in the script. It's not in the shooting breakdown. And yet, it's there, buried just deep enough to feel unintentional, but shot with too much precision to be a fluke. What makes it Hasson on this list isn't just the ghostliness of the figure, it's that it challenges the film's own internal rules. It's not part of Cole's ghost vision, it's part of ours. And if that's true, what other ghosts did we see that Cole didn't? The Blair Witch Project, 1999, The Man in the Trees. Much has been said about the Blair Witch Project, its viral marketing, its found footage realism, its legacy as one of horror's most iconic experiments. But buried within its shaky camera work and chaotic nighttime sequences is a moment that few have noticed, and even fewer have explained. In one of the final scenes, as Heather frantically runs through the woods at night, the camera catches a brief, jarring flash of something in the trees. For less than a second, a tall figure is visible standing between two trunks, completely still, watching. He doesn't move, he doesn't follow, he's not acknowledged. The filmmakers never reference this figure. Fans assumed it was Josh, the missing crew member, but frame comparisons show the silhouette doesn't match his build. Others suggest it was an accidental capture of one of the directors during production. But the blocking, distance, and framing are too precise. What makes it so haunting is the silence around it. No musical cue, no narrative justification, just a form, observing, like a hunter, too patient to reveal itself. In a movie about being watched, being stalked, and being lost, this figure becomes the purest embodiment of dread, something that's always there, even when you're not meant to see it. So was the Blair Witch ever alone? Or were there always more eyes in the woods than we realized? Children of Men, 2006. The Man in the Burning Building. Alfonso Cuarón's Children of Men is known for its long takes and immersive realism, but in one of its most chaotic scenes, a blink and you'll miss it moment adds a layer of terror that feels anything but scripted. As Clive Owen's character runs through a war-torn urban battleground, a building explodes in the background. Smoke and debris fly outward, but if you pause at just the right second, something appears in the window. A man, arms outstretched, screaming before he's swallowed by flame. There is no sound beyond the blast, no reaction from the main characters, and no sign of the man in any subsequent frame. Was this a stunt gone wrong? An actor caught too close to the detonation? Or something inserted digitally to emphasize the cost of the world's collapse? Cuarón never addressed the moment, and the production team remained silent. But fans who dissected the sequence frame by frame insist it's real and intentional. The horror isn't just that a man dies, it's that he dies off narrative, out of focus, unnoticed, and unresolved. Because in a world that stopped caring about the future, what happens to those who vanish in the margins? Pet Sematary, 1989. The Thing in the Window. Mary Lambert's adaptation of Pet Sematary is soaked in dread, but one moment goes unnoticed by most, and once seen, it redefines the film's tone entirely. In a quiet scene, Louis Creed sits in the living room, wrestling with guilt. The TV hums in the background. Outside, the yard is still, and in the reflection of the glass patio door, something moves. It's faint, a small figure walking from left to right, too short to be an adult, too slow to be dismissed as a shadow. It happens behind him, unnoticed, just as he lowers his head in defeat. Some fans argue it was Gage, already returned far earlier than the script suggests. Others say it was a crew member whose movement was accidentally captured in the reflection, but neither theory explains the precise height, posture, or eerily smooth pace of the figure. Lambert, when asked, said only, "We wanted the grief to bleed into the frame even when it didn't belong there." Was the reflection a visual metaphor, or a leak something dead returning before it was called? And if Gage was already watching, what else had already come back? Zodiac, 2007. The Extra with no call sheet. David Fincher's Zodiac is meticulous in its attention to detail, an investigative thriller where every newspaper, clipping, phone call, and map coordinate matters. So when something appears in the background without explanation, it's impossible to ignore. In a diner scene midway through the film, Jake Gyllenhaal's character is lost in thought while reading over case files. In the booth behind him, a man sits alone, sipping coffee. He's partially obscured by shadows, but his stillness is unsettling. He never eats, he never moves, he never blinks, and then he's gone. The next time the camera cuts back to Gyllenhaal, the booth is empty. There's no visible transition, no cue that the man left, no break in the scene's continuity, just presence, followed by absence. Fans and amateur sleuths dove into the production stills and extras lists, but the man doesn't match any credited actor or background performer. Some argued it was a reference to one of the Zodiac's many police sketches, while others believed it was an editing error, a missing cut. But this is Fincher. Errors don't survive his process. So, was the man ever really there? Or was he inserted digitally, a specter haunting the frame to mirror the killer's elusive nature? And if the background can't be trusted in Zodiac, then how many times did the killer already appear without us knowing? Signs, 2002. The Birthday Visitor. M. Night Shyamalan's Signs is remembered for its themes of faith and fear, but one scene in particular traumatized a generation of viewers, not for what it showed, but for how it showed it. In a home video segment played on the news, children at a birthday party in Brazil capture something unexpected. As they point the camera toward an alley behind their house, an alien figure suddenly strides across the gap. It's brief, jagged, uncanny, and horrifying in its simplicity, but frees the frame at the exact moment before the creature steps out. And there's something even more chilling. A small, pale hand already visible around the corner. It lingers there, just a beat too long before the body emerges. The hand shouldn't be visible, the timing is off. The movement is unnatural. Some viewers claim the hand is a production slip, an actor mistiming their cue. Others argue it was placed intentionally to heighten unease. But the fact that it blends into the shadows so seamlessly makes it more sinister than any jump scare. The creature is scary, but the hand, that quiet, premature intrusion, is what stays with you, because it suggests the alien wasn't just passing by, it was already watching. So what else might be hiding just off-frame in scenes we think we've already memorized? The Shining, 1980. The Impossible Window. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is famous for its spatial anomalies, but one particular detail continues to provoke debate among architects and horror theorists alike: the manager's office window. Early in the film, Jack Torrance meets with Stuart Ullman in what appears to be an interior room. No hallway leads to it, no exterior wall surrounds it, and yet, behind Ullman's desk is a window, with daylight streaming in. On a set meticulously built for controlled geography, this shouldn't be possible. Fans began mapping the Overlook Hotel, using floor plans to trace movements and verify layouts. Every time, the same conclusion emerged: that window cannot exist. Kubrick never commented, but given his notorious precision, few believe it was accidental. Many interpret it as the first crack in the overlook's reality, a visual signal that the space is unstable, untrustworthy. Others see it as a trick meant to subconsciously unsettle the viewer before any overt horror begins. It's not a ghost, it's not a murder, it's just a window that shouldn't be there. And that's what makes it so terrifying, because if the physical structure of the world is a lie, what else might be? And how many viewers pass through that scene without realizing they had just entered a spatial impossibility? Black Swan, 2010. The Mirror That Lied. Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan is a hallucinatory descent into obsession, doubling, and identity fracture. But one of its most disturbing moments doesn't involve Nina's transformation. It happens quietly, in a mirror. During rehearsal, Natalie Portman's character sits in front of a mirror, exhausted, shoulders slumped. She moves her head slightly, and her reflection just for a split second doesn't follow. It's so brief, most viewers never register it. But once noticed, the violation is clear. The reflection is independently animated. It reacts late, almost smugly, as if it's aware of the viewer's presence, as if it knows it doesn't belong. The moment wasn't a digital glitch or an editing mistake. In interviews, Aronofsky admitted to using digital manipulation to insert micro-surrealist elements throughout the film, designed to destabilize the audience on a subliminal level. This wasn't the only mirror to misbehave in Black Swan, but it's the one that lingers, because it suggests something far more unsettling than body horror: the loss of trust in one's own perception. In a world where reality is fluid, the mirror, once a symbol of truth, becomes a conspirator. Is Nina hallucinating? Or has the audience become complicit in her unraveling? And if we can't trust a mirror, can we trust what we saw in any frame of this film? The Others, 2001. The Hands That Shouldn't Be There. Alejandro Amenabar's The Others trades in shadows and silence, using restraint to great effect. But within that quiet elegance lies one shot that still puzzles fans decades later. In the scene where Nicole Kidman's character is chasing the mysterious intruders through her house, she enters a long hallway. The camera moves with her. The lighting is dim, flickering with candlelight, but frees the frame just before she rounds the corner, and you'll see it: two hands, low to the floor, grasping the molding near the baseboard. They don't belong to her, they don't move, and they don't show up again. No characters are crawling, no children are hidden. The hands are pale, veined, and stiff, almost mannequin-like. Some fans speculated they were part of a deleted scene or a mispositioned prop. Others were convinced they were the hands of a child ghost never fully revealed in the film. Amenabar, when asked, refused to comment directly. "What you see is part of the world of the house," he said. "Some things aren't meant to be explained." And that's what makes it so chilling, not the presence of something supernatural, but the complete lack of narrative justification. The hands aren't there to scare you, they're just there, as if they always have been. So if you missed them the first time, what else might be waiting in the dark corners of this film? Gone Girl, 2014. The Man in the Frame. David Fincher's Gone Girl is a cold, calculated thriller about manipulation and perception, but one moment in the background feels like it belongs in a ghost story. During a montage of Ben Affleck's character preparing for a press appearance, the camera sweeps across the living room. On the far left of the screen, near the edge of a mirror, something strange happens. A man's reflection appears. He's not Affleck. He's not moving. He just stands there, blurred but undeniably present. No character acknowledges him. He doesn't match anyone seen before or after. The moment is short, barely a second, but fans immediately notice something was off. Fincher is notorious for obsessing over control in his shots. So, how did this get through? Was it a crew member accidentally caught on film? Or was it something more intentional, perhaps a nod to the surveillance theme? Or a visual metaphor for the unseen forces shaping the narrative? When asked about it, Fincher gave a typically cryptic answer: "Everything in the frame matters, even the things you think are mistakes." This response did nothing to dispel theories. Some claim the reflection is a subtle nod to the duality of perception. Others insist it was a genuine anomaly that Fincher cleverly reframed as intentional. Whatever the truth, it remains one of those cinematic artifacts that shouldn't be there but is. So is it a mistake? Or a message for those paying extra attention? Hereditary, 2018. The Smiling Man in the Darkness. Ari Aster's Hereditary is a masterclass in psychological horror. But one of its most unsettling moments doesn't involve blood, screams, or supernatural entities. It involves something that doesn't move at all. In a late-night scene, Toni Collette's character walks through her darkened house, grief consuming her like a fog. As she enters the living room, the camera lingers in the background on pure blackness. But hidden in that blackness is a shape. It's a naked man, standing perfectly still, smiling. No sound cues draw your attention. No character reacts. He's not lit, not staged, just embedded in the void. For many viewers, he's invisible until a second or third watch. But once you see him, you can't unsee him. He reappears later in the attic scene, unmistakably part of the cult that orchestrates the film's horror. But his first appearance is never explained. Why is he there? How long has he been watching? What's so deeply disturbing isn't just the voyeurism, but the calmness, the way he blends in with the shadows, the way horror is redefined, not as an attack, but as surveillance, as quiet, malevolent observation. Astor later said, "There's no better way to scare someone than to make them feel like they're not the one doing the watching." So how many frames of this film contain watchers we never noticed? And how many more films have figures hidden in plain sight, simply waiting for us to find them? Insidious, 2010, The Man Behind the Curtain. James Wan's Insidious thrives on atmosphere. Its horror isn't built on gore, but on what's barely seen. The film is riddled with fleeting images, strange silhouettes, and almost imperceptible intrusions. But one moment, buried so deep in the background, it's been missed by even dedicated fans, stands out for its quiet malevolence. During a domestic scene, the camera pans across the kitchen as Rose Byrne's character prepares food. She moves from the sink to the counter. Nothing seems amiss until you pause at just the right second. Behind her, in the corner where the curtains hang, a figure stands, motionless, half obscured by fabric. The face is expressionless, pale, and unmistakably watching her. There is no musical sting, no camera zoom, no acknowledgement from any character, and yet the presence feels suffocating. When fans discovered the figure after the film's release, it triggered a flood of speculation. Was it one of the demons from The Further? A crew member caught in the shot? Or an intentional plant by Wan, who's known for hiding background terrors? The director eventually confirmed the figure was intentional but refused to elaborate on who it was or why it was placed there. Sometimes, he said cryptically in an interview, the background tells you more about the haunting than the foreground ever could. What makes the moment so disturbing isn't just the hidden figure, it's how close it is, how long it's been there, how easily the film allows you to overlook it. Is horror more effective when it screams, or when it simply waits, unseen, in the corner of your screen? And if you didn't notice it the first time, what else have you missed watching your favorite horror films alone at night? The Ring, 2002, The Face in the Closet. Gore Verbinski's The Ring is remembered for its chilling imagery, a cursed videotape, a well in the woods, a girl with hair draped over her face. But buried deeper than its overt scares lies a brief, easily overlooked moment that's arguably more disturbing than any of its scripted horrors. It occurs during the scene where Naomi Watts' character discovers the first victim's body in a bedroom closet. The shot is quick, no more than a few seconds. The door opens, revealing the contorted, discolored corpse of a teenage girl. The horror is instantaneous and visceral, but that's not all that's in the frame. Off to the side, just behind the door, something appears briefly. A pale face, not belonging to the body, not belonging to Watts, and not belonging to anyone listed in the scene. It's positioned awkwardly, as if peering through the crack in the closet. It doesn't move, it doesn't blink, it simply exists, just long enough for the mind to register it before the shot ends. The studio never acknowledged its presence. Some viewers dismissed it as a lighting effect or a trick of the shadows. Others slowed the scene down, analyzed every pixel, and insisted, there is something there. To this day, the face isn't credited, explained, or even discussed by the filmmakers. Verbinski himself, when asked in an early interview, redirected the question, and fans familiar with the film's theme's perception, denial, hidden truths, found the ambiguity disturbingly appropriate. Was this an unintentional trick of the eye? A deliberate insertion meant to test our awareness? Or was it a reminder that in The Ring, nothing is ever truly dead and nothing ever really leaves the frame? Three Men and a Baby, 1987. The Phantom in the Curtains. At first glance, Three Men and a Baby is the last place you'd expect a haunting. A lighthearted comedy about three bachelors navigating unexpected fatherhood, it was a box office hit and a cultural milestone of the late 1982. But behind its family-friendly exterior lies one of cinema's most persistent and unnerving legends. In one scene, as Ted Danson's character walks through the apartment, a dark figure appears between the curtains in the background. Freeze the frame, and you'll see what looks unmistakably like a young boy standing motionless, peering out from the shadows. He's not blurred, he's not a prop, he's just there. Rumors spiraled almost immediately after the film's release. Some claimed the figure was the ghost of a boy who died in the apartment where the scene was filmed, despite the entire movie being shot on a soundstage. Others said it was a cardboard cutout of Ted Danson's character, accidentally left in the shot. The studio later leaned into this explanation, claiming the cutout had been used for a different scene and was mistakenly placed behind the curtain. But when fans reviewed the scene, they noticed something odd. The figure didn't match the known cutout. Its posture was different, its height was wrong, and it didn't resemble Danson at all. Despite repeated clarifications, doubt lingered. The studio's explanation felt too convenient, too polished. And like all good mysteries, the more it was explained, the less believable it became. Is this a case of mistaken identity? Or did something appear in the background that wasn't part of the script or the set? And if so, why has no one ever truly accounted for it? The Exorcist 3, 1990, The Figure That Wasn't Meant to Move. William Peter Blatty's The Exorcist 3 was never meant to be a traditional horror film. Rooted more in psychological dread than jump scares, the film builds tension like a fever dream, slow, unnerving, and quiet. But amid its precision, one shot contains something so off, it becomes impossible to unsee. Roughly halfway through the film, there's a scene in a hospital corridor. A nurse finishes her rounds and steps into a room. As the camera lingers on the empty hallway, there's a moment of pure stillness until a figure moves in the background. Dressed in white, the shape appears to step into the frame and then suddenly vanish again. The movement is subtle, almost forgettable, until you realize no character is supposed to be there. There's no dialogue, no musical cue, no narrative reason for the figure's presence. Some fans believed it was a crew member accidentally caught on camera, but the motion is too fluid, too perfectly framed. Others argue it was a ghostly extra one of several added in post-production to heighten the film's unease, but Blatty never confirmed it. In fact, he later said that certain scenes were tampered with in the editing process by studio hands. The shape's identity remains unknown. It doesn't appear in the script, nor is it listed in any production notes. And despite countless fan breakdowns, frame-by-frame analyses, and speculation, there's still no answer. So, was this a technical error, an intentional plant, or something else entirely? Was it just background atmosphere, or something that slipped in when no one was watching? The unedited broadcast, Ghost Watch 1992, technically not a theatrical film, Ghost Watch was a BBC television special that aired on Halloween night, 1992. Framed as a live investigation into paranormal activity, it fooled thousands into believing what they were seeing was real. But amid the scripted chaos, one visual anomaly slipped past even the creators until viewers began calling in. Throughout the broadcast, a shadowy figure appears intermittently in the background, behind curtains, in reflections, standing outside windows. Each time, he's barely visible. Dressed in a long coat, with hollow eyes and a twisted posture, the figure was dubbed Pipes by fans. Most assumed these were scripted scares, planned, placed, and timed. Except one of them wasn't. In a later interview, a production assistant confessed that a figure appears at timestamp 1 hour, 17 minutes, and 43 seconds completely outside the scheduled cues. It wasn't one of the actors. It wasn't in the script. The studio's playback review confirmed the presence and then couldn't find it again in the master. To this day, no one has claimed responsibility for that instance. It's become a kind of ghost within a ghost story, a real intrusion in a fake haunting. Was it a glitch? A layered tape error? Or did something uninvited join the broadcast? In a production designed to blur reality and fiction, perhaps something took that as an invitation.